The roguelike Prince of Persia game is finally released, and long story short, this game is incredible. Boom! That broke the rock? Wow, I do 200 crits. Alright. Sick little trap. That's right, this is the Rogue Prince of Persia. And shoutouts to Ubisoft and Evil Empire for sponsoring this video. Download the game today using my link to help us save the Persian Kingdom. You can find that link in the description of this video. The story goes that around the time when Evil Empire made the really killer Castlevania DLC for Dead Cells, they were able to meet some folks from Ubisoft at GDC, that's Game Developers Conference. There, someone asked, you know what sounds sick? A Prince of Persia game in the style of Dead Cells. And thus, RPOP is what I'm gonna call it from now on, was born. If you didn't know that this was the team that made RPOP, let me know in the comments. For those who've never played a Prince of Persia game, most of these are action platformers. You have an overarching story and you run through stages until you get the ending credits. If you think about Dead Cells, it's honestly pretty similar, except for the whole die and retry thing that all roguelites have. So the team needed to make a story-driven Prince of Persia, but still make it run-based. There's character builds, progression for the character, all that stuff. Oh, and skins to unlock. You can't forget about that. The Rogue Prince of Persia is available now on PC through Ubisoft Plus, Steam, Epic Game Store. You can also find it on Xbox Series X and S, PlayStation 5, and it will be launching on Nintendo Switch 1 and 2 later this year. So how in the world does a run in Prince of Persia work? After you've done the tutorial, every run of RPOP starts off with you choosing a biome. Each one is a specific reward you can expect, but in reality, you're kind of choosing the biome based on where you are in the story. I'll get to that in a little bit later. Each biome is a gigantic parkour segment with plenty of spots to wall climb, wall run, pole flip, all those tricks that the prince can pull off. They even have a flow state called Vayu's Breath, which can give you special bonuses when you trigger it. You can't just run around Persia like this. It's been invaded by the Huns, they've slaughtered most of the Persians, and we gotta fight through them to get to the survivors. And let me tell you, this dev team did not skip out on making the prince fight. Just like Dead Cells, the team went with the idea that the prince can find tons of different weapons in a single run. Each weapon will have its own playstyle, or a niche that you'll want to build off of, or you simply play the weapons that you like the most. We have the basic twin dagger that does a crit if you vault over an enemy. We have instance burners that you can ignite to set enemies on fire, or maybe you just go all out with dual axes that drain your energy to pump up their own damage. A lot of these are found via blueprints that you'll unlock with spirit essences that come from the Huns. So yeah, you'll want to kill them as you come across them. If you watch how I play, I usually don't ever feel like I'm slogging through the enemies with this kind of combat. I run, I ID the Hun that's coming up to me, then I decide how I'm gonna kill it on the fly. Sometimes I'll have to use my secondary weapon. These usually have ammo that refills during combat and could be something simple as a bow. But what I like to do is take the nuttier abilities, like this dagger that teleports you, or even a huge down slam. So now, think about that flow state again. I might be able to just pop a Hun with a drive-by power slam, and then just keep on moving. After all that, we have what could be the strongest attack in the Prince's kit, and that is a simple boot to the face. Funny story though, when I was brainstorming for this sponsored vid, I was toying with the idea of I beat RPOP with the most overpowered weapon in the game, parentheses, your foot. But I like the weapons so much that I didn't really want to just go through the game kicking everything. But not gonna lie, the Prince's kick, which will knock enemies into spikes, stun them up against a wall, or you bowling ball them into other enemies, it's really a key part of the game and maintaining that flow state that I was talking about. And all of this is happening to some Persian trap music in the background. Listen to this and get your Spotify ready. Sometimes the right move is to kick or down slam an enemy into spikes because it will activate a medallion that you're carrying, like the Gilded Accident or Nourishing Accident. These medallions are part of the roguelike system where you're trying to make a build based on the weapon that you're carrying. The team has gone through multiple versions of this medallion system during early access. What you're looking at right now is the final version of this. In fact, if you played the game in the beginning of early access, I'm sure you've already seen tons of things that are very different between then and now. Anyway, medallions come into 3 rarities. It's either a common, a rare, or a legendary. Common medallions are your stat increases. Think like attack up, damage reduction. They even have something for your Value's Breath meter. The rare medallions are how you really start to cook a build. I could take Dash Spreads Resin, and then use the Incense weapon to ignite the resin with fire. Then the Critical Fire medallion makes all my attacks do crits, and then critical hits will stun nearby enemies with this medallion. The legendaries are all kinda nuts. We have things like Dash will instantly grant you the Value's Breath, and another one that does constant fire explosions around the prince while the breath is active. So, we've cooked the build, ran through a few biomes. Just like any other roguelike, we have to fight a few bosses to test the build on. I like the boss design in this game because each one still requires you to do some Prince of Persia platforming, and as far as I can tell, no build will be so broken that the bosses simply explode. Let's look at one of the second tier of bosses that are in the game. This fight takes place in a giant tower, and the boss will fly and teleport around to different spots on the screen. His attacks will fire beams from the walls and the floor, so I need to wall climb to dodge these. He'll even send exploding mines that track me. These I can kick right back at the boss, do damage and break any shielding. And of course, it wouldn't be a tower fight if it didn't have an outrun for the stage. Honestly, a lot of devs make the mistake of bosses that you don't really want to see again after the first time, but I don't really run into that issue with RPOP. Win or lose, you may be wondering what in the hell are we doing besides fighting Huns that invaded the palace. Again, as a Prince of Persia game, there has to be some kind of story to it, and it's really hard to maintain a progressing story in a roguelike. So for RPOP, the prince is looking for clues and following leads, and that is how you end up finding new biomes and new NPCs. Basically, every time the prince dies, he retains all of his knowledge, and the devs put all that into a nice little mind map to track your clues and objectives. So for the first few runs, you may be in Zagrel's village, but then you need to check out the Huns' camp instead. But then later on, a lead will have you start the run in the gold mines. But maybe this is just for one clue or something, and you'll need to find a different biome later. And then you come back to the mines afterward. It's a really cool system that controls your routing instead of having you just choose a stage because it's the best route to play. If you do want to just turn on the game and do a run, you could definitely choose the routes based on their rewards. I still don't think there's an optimal path that you should always take, which is often the case for other games that do this. But instead, you can choose the biome that gives a guaranteed medallion, or maybe you need to level up your weapons, so you choose that biome instead. Or you might just really hate the monsters in the flooded gardens and will always choose Craftsman's District instead. Either way, there's plenty of biomes to choose from, and could even leave the door open for potential DLC if they wanted to go that route. Honestly, giving an overview for this game is making me want to kind of show the game off in a full run, but I can't really do that in this video or else it'll be way too long. Instead, I have a few runs up right now on the YouTube channel so you can see how it looks to play through the whole game. This is an action roguelike, so I hope that the way I show the game, just like a lot of the other roguelikes I show, you'd be like, wow, I'm kinda hypey after watching him do it. This game only keeps looking better and better with each run, so you're unlocking blueprints or leveling up the prince's skill tree. Oh, and I almost forgot, of course there is a difficulty system that lets you augment different parts of the game. and the reward for that is more skill points, costumes, etc, etc. Maybe even true ending. Right now, I'm using weapons have durability, so they're gonna break if I don't upgrade or replace them. You might think that sounds crazy to turn on, but I'm honestly a big fan of changing out my weapon and constantly cooking on the fly. There's also a bunch of punishment for getting hit, but eventually I'm gonna need to max this meter out so I can call myself an actual pro at Rogue Prince of Persia. Maybe, you know, write a guide or two if that's something y'all will be interested in. Again, I want to thank Ubisoft for sponsoring this video. You can pick up the game today with the link in the description of this video. If this video got you hyped up for Rogue Prince of Persia, leave a like on the video, subscribe, check out my other runs of RPOP if you need some tips or build ideas. Either way, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in Persia.